What's up, everybody? Hope the audio is good. I'm running my microphone through my motocross helmet today. It's the first time I've ever done that, so hopefully it's all right. We're just toying around on the KLX. It's not the first time I've really rode it. I've got half an hour on it now, but just wanted to get it out, get a little footage of it in action, play around some since it's not raining today, and yeah, just wanted to make a quick video for you guys. And the topic of this video is going to be the 80-20 rule. I don't know if everyone's heard of this. Most people that's been riding for a while probably familiar, but the 80-20 rule states that it is 80% rider skill and 20% the bike. So if you're worried that you can't keep up or ride very good because you have an inferior bike, the 80-20 rule says you're probably wrong. And obviously, if you're like drag racing against your buddy and you're on the inferior bike of the two, the less performance oriented, then yes, you would be at a huge disadvantage. But when it comes to just general riding off-road, maybe doing some GNCC style racing where outright speed doesn't matter, it's just skill, then in those situations, the 80-20 rule, most people would agree, prevails. So, 80-20 rule. So if you ask or interview some of the top riders, like for instance, say Graham Jarvis, I heard it said one time that when he goes overseas to compete in these events and put on camps where he helps or teaches people, he has to borrow a bike. You don't ship a bike with him everywhere he goes. So he gets there and Husqvarna or whoever provides him with a bike, a local dealer, a friend, something. And they were asking him how important setup was, and he's like, "What do you mean?" And they're like, "Well, do you have a book with all your suspension settings and stuff that you can kind of tweak and give you a good baseline for these bikes?" And he's like, "I don't know what you're talking about." He's like, "I just get on it and ride." It's not, it matters, but it doesn't matter that much. So if you think the reason you can't keep up with your buddies is because you're on a CRF 230 and you're out trail riding in the woods and they're on a 252 stroke or whatever bike, if you think the only reason you can't keep up with them is because of your bike, it's possible, you're right. If y'all are both top shelf riders and you're getting everything out of that 230, but if you're a top shelf rider, you probably aren't riding around a 230. So with that in mind, it's your skill. And so it's just like I've got friends and work associates, and they'll go out and buy a bike, and it's no secret that I'm a huge motorcycle fanatic. amongst the people I work with, and you know, and there's not that many people riding bikes. And then on top of that, there's definitely not that many riding their bike to work when it's 20 degrees outside and they live an hour away in the wintertime. So it's no secret amongst the people I work and see on a regular basis that I'm big into bikes. So, for example, somebody I work with will be like, well, hey man, I'm going to look at a bike, or I just got a bike, whatever. And I'll be like, yeah, I budgeted a little extra money to put some accessories on it. Okay, awesome. What kind of bike did you get? Well, I got me a Gixxer 600. Oh, cool. All right. What kind of accessories do you have in mind? Of course, everyone's gonna be like, well, it needs to sound good, so I got to get an exhaust. But every now and then, somebody will say, well, what do you think I should get that actually make me a better rider? Or I went out and I got me a new motocross bike, or got me a bike and I hadn't had one in a long time, and trying to get back into riding. And what do you really think will make me better? I've budgeted myself like an extra $500 for accessories. I was thinking some levers, maybe some aftermarket foot pegs, and a few other knick-knack things. And my immediate response, whether I say it to them or not depends, but if they're serious about becoming a better rider, my immediate response is like, well, I'd take that $500 and I'd go buy gasoline with it and start riding. Because you may become a better rider as the quality of the bike you have under your legs improves, but it's not nearly as noticeable of a change as improving your riding is. Whether that be improving your stamina off the bike, or just improving your skills on the bike, like I said, just by running some gasoline through it. So yeah, for example, perfect example of the 80-20 rule is the video I shared where I raced the DR200. Now, I will admit I'm not that great of a rider. At one point in time, I'm not one to brag, but at one point in time I was pretty good. As a middle-late teenager, I was riding every day. God only knows how many gallons of gas I sucked through a carburetor smaller than 35 millimeters. I rode day in, day out. It didn't matter if it rained that day. We rode in the rain. We would push our bikes from my parents' house through the yard all the way to the gate into the field just so we could ride. And sometimes, depending on which field we were riding in, that was a long walk. Like, kids nowadays look out the window and be like, it's raining, so let's just stay in, play some PlayStation. Like, it was very difficult for my parents to keep us in the house. And so, at one point in time, long story short, I was much better of a rider than I am now. Skills and speed-wise, and definitely endurance-wise. And if you go watch that footage, like I'm saying, I'm not that great of a rider. And I take a DR200 and I place 143rd out of, it's like 197 people. So 143rd out of 200 people. I should have entered into the beginner's class, which was made up of almost strictly air-cooled bikes, like a couple of TTR 230s, or CRF 230s. I think there might have even been like an XT 250 in there, or XT 225, and then one or two two-strokes, maybe one liquid-cooled four-stroke. It was a big class. I think they had 10. That's the class I should have been in which case I would have placed third. I placed 9th out of 13th in a C 4-stroke class. I should have been in a beginner's class, just based on my times, for no other reason. I was competitive in the beginner class, time-wise. But out of those other 13 riders, I was the only one on an air-cooled bike, and a DR200 at that. Probably, performance-wise, the slouchiest performer of the air-cooled market today. So, at least as far as deal sports are concerned. You only got like, 2 other choices for air-cooled. I wouldn't even count racing a TW200. So anyway, I lined up on the line with nothing but liquid-cooled 4-strokes. I was the only, there was one CRF 230. So there's 12 other bikes that were liquid-cooled. The 13th other bike was a CRF 230, air-cooled. So, yeah, and placed 9th out of 13. So, obviously, I beat some guys on liquid-cooled bikes. Not because I had a better quality bike or a faster bike. If anything, I had a much slower and less capable bike. And even at my current, what I would say is not good riding skill, and current, what's the word I'm looking for? My current endurance and physical performance of my body, I outperformed a lot of these guys. Not technically a lot of them, but a handful of them. Didn't come in last. Came in just past middle of the pack. Middle of the pack being 7th. Came in 9th. So, yeah, it's just something to think about. 80-20 rule. The bike you're on doesn't matter as much as how good of a rider you are. So if you're looking to become a better rider, don't bother wasting your time on a bike. Or, an expensive bike. If you're going out looking for a new bike, and you're like, man, I gotta have that CRF 450X or RX, and I'm gonna start doing some woods racing. Unless you're just top shelf rider, I agree, that's an awesome bike. But I'll bet you money you could go buy for half the price the CRF, the brand new air-cooled CRF 250F that replaces the 230, that's going to replace the 230. You could buy that bike and then take the other $4,500, take a day off work a month during the week of unpaid leave. You will, in a year's time, be a much better rider, much faster, much more competitive rider, and you will still have pocketed money over buying that 450 RX or whatever you're eyeballing. Not to say there's not a place for those bikes. There is. If I could have my choice of an extra bike laying around to justify racing, which I can't when I only race like twice a year, if that, I would have the new YZ250X 2-stroke. So there's a place for them if money's not bothering you. But if you really want to become a better rider and have the skills that you wish you had, a new bike's just not going to give it to you. It's going to help, but only so much. So that's my ramble on the 80-20 rule. What's your thoughts? If you're new to riding, you've never heard of the 80-20 rule, it's discussed from time to time. But yeah, 80-20 rule, what's your thoughts on it? If you're new to riding, don't think you got to have the newest and the best. I've seen a guy spend $300 on an old, crappy XR 350. It's actually a great machine, but this one was old, crappy, been rode hard and put up wet. A lot of people may not even realize Honda made a XR 350. But he bought one like a week prior to a race for like $300 just to prove a point, and then went out and raced it in a GNC style hair scramble race and placed like top 30th out of like 150 people. So, just to prove a point. So, to each his own. Just know that how much money you've got invested, how nice your bike is, doesn't mean everything. And that's what the 80-20 rule represents.